Hello and welcome to KJ's Corner as part of the I'm Breaking Into Tech community. I am your host. KJ stands for Kyle John, but I'm not pretentious, hence why I go by my nickname. I'm a principal automation solution engineer, and if you've been paying attention before, I was at UiPath. Now I'm with Salesforce, which is awesome. But enough about me. It's about my guest here. He is the founder of Sales.org.io, but more recently been promoted to the head of revenue as of course I say, Rocket Shipping. Sorry, should have known that name. Troy Barter. Troy. How you doing, man? How are things?
KJ, thanks for having me, man. Doing well.
Yeah, love the setup. You're one of the first guys that I've had that's had the mic set up right in your face. A lot of people like to put it on the desk and so on and so forth. So I like someone actually showing me the what you're using to speak into.
Yeah, man. I've got some experience on that side of the ball. For
well,
sure.
yeah, and just for full transparency, usually with this and just for you and everyone else is listening, the people I pull on the pod are people I've been following on LinkedIn. I do interview some buddies from time to time, but for the most part, you and a bunch of others that I've interviewed are influencers, so to speak. You've got a big following on LinkedIn, and I actually listened to the 3 episodes of your pod that you had posted on Spotify. I love the one with the wrestler, by the way.
Dude, I think about that episode all the time because I didn't really heavily promote it. It's got like low listens, but it's like, dude, this is like the hottest. I probably will never do a better one than that one.
It was good. It was real good.
Royce is the man. And like after that came out, he was like, he's been on AEW and like high level. He's in New Japan, which is like, it's the 3rd biggest wrestling company on the planet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lesnar, Kurt Angle were the champ of it and everything. But I've known him forever, from when I was a rapper on rapmusic.com way back in the
great.
day. Yeah. And like, so like he did a little bit of sales, but it was like having a guy that's like, he's very high level at a pretty interesting profession, being able to relate all of that into sales, I thought was so cool. I'm going to need to like convince him to do it again. Because
I think so.
Yeah, that is one episode that it's like, man, I think that actually would help people a lot. And I think it's entertaining. Like that was the goal of the podcast. And I haven't had time to keep with it.
Let me plug it a little bit because I listen to this as well, and I'm a professional wrestling fan. I watch it all. Like I'll watch, obviously watch everything WWE Survivor Series coming up this weekend as we're recording.
Hell yeah.
Just watched Full Gear. I don't follow the New Japan product as much, but I think it makes sense because obviously time zone changes and so on and so. I think it's on 100%. Access, but I correlate wrestling to being involved in the selling motion so much, and here's the reason why. It's really simple. It really comes down to getting over, and getting over is the concept of branding yourself and marketing yourself and actually providing something to the fans that you're getting. So like if I'm in a sales engineering capacity, right? One, I probably got to know my stuff, right? But more importantly, this whole get up right here is a way for me to market myself that kind of almost like breaks the barrier of like, oh, I feel like I'm on a podcast. I feel like I'm whatever. And then when you could substantiate that with some actual value, which is me being able to speak about the technology effectively, that's all wrestling is. Like you can be great in the ring, but if you can't talk on the stick, right, it doesn't matter. Or can you talk on the stick, but eventually you got to be able to tell a compelling story in the ring. So putting that full package together is really what gravitates you to wrestling. And think about all the wrestlers that people do know: Hulk Hogan, Shawn Michaels, John Cena. John Cena is he's a superstar, right? Actor. Rock, same thing. So like I love that you made that connection because I've thought about my entire sales career as being a wrestler. How do I get myself over in the confines of where I'm at? And it's worked for me. So I love the fact that you've done that, to be honest with you.
It's interesting, man. Like you think of all of the names outside of a couple, like Shawn Michaels being one of them, like the biggest names were not the best wrestlers.
No.
They had the best presentation, like for sure, like Hogan for sure. Like,
Hogan wasn't great. He had a leg drop.
Like The Rock, all of them. It's like, can you talk? And it's interesting because like sales has gotten away from that quite a bit, where it turned into that. I just punted a company that was like similar to like an Apollo that like we were evaluating, because we got halfway through discovery and I was like, dude, if we just look at the product, I have Maggie here, who's like the person that actually handles this type of stuff for the company. She will ask you a couple of questions when you pull up your platform, and we will know whether or not we're ready to go. By the way, if we're ready to go, you're talking to the head of revenue. I can buy this. You are over discovering right now. We're ready for presentation. And they punted it. And then it's like, all right, well, you had all 3 people on the call and you could have moved forward with it. But like, especially people when they're new. It's like, well, just like follow our format. And our format is we do a massive discovery call, even if we don't need to.
And this is with rocket shipping specifically. I just want to add context here.
Well, I'm at rocket shipping and I'm evaluating something else. So that's what I'm talking about. It's like,
I'm just trying to understand for people who are listening in.
Yeah. I was purchasing software for rocket shipping was the thought. And they just completely botched it with the amount of discovery that they did. And like, I've said this on a million podcasts, but it's like, I used to say you don't lose a sale by asking questions. You can absolutely lose a sale by asking too many questions, though.
Sure.
It's like at some point you have to read the room and know when it's time to present. And the presenting side, I think, is what people got away from more than anything. Is like, are people really like memorizing like the way that they present things, the framework of how they present it, how it comes across, how the tone should be, when should they slow down, when should they speed up, when should their voice be high, when should it be lower? Are you focused on that, or are you just focused on what questions they ask? Because you think about anything that you've ever bought, did you buy it because they asked the best questions, or did you buy it because you were impressed by their presentation and what they were offering?
Usually the latter.
Right. And don't get me wrong, like you have to sell the sizzle a bit, I think, in sales. That's literally what sales is. But like also like the solution, you'll like on the sales like engineer side, you probably like this. I always look to accomplish three things whenever like selling, whenever presenting technology. I want the prospect to be completely bought in on the fact that this is an ideal solution for them. In other words, based on the problems that we've uncovered, this is the most ideal solution to accomplish those, where they're completely sold like this would completely fix everything that we talked about. So ideal. Next is unique. All right. Are they looking at something else? Do we have competitive differentiators that we have shown them that have put us a cut above and separated us from everything else that they're looking at? So ideal, unique. And then the last one, no one does. Don't ask me why, because it's as important as the other two: ease of use. Ease of getting it going.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Because
yes.
People don't care how good something will solve their problems if it's going to be a pain in their ass to solve it. And another thing to keep in mind, most of the people that you're talking to when you're selling, it's rare that you've got the owner nowadays, right? So you're generally showing somebody something that they are not incredibly invested in compared to the person that owns the company or compared to the board, right? So this solution might help with things, but do they really care? I mean, they probably sort of care, like the same way people sort of care about their job in general, right? But what actually matters to them is how easy are you going to make this for me? Is this going to be harder on my life or easier on my life? And people like they go through everything and they don't focus on that. Like anytime that I go to a report, anytime that I go to a part in the software, I say, do you see how quickly I could get over to that? By the way, this report I'm showing you, we can automate where you get it once a week, whenever you want it. You don't even have to worry about it. We'll build it out for you. This couldn't be possibly easier for you to get the solution and solve the problem. Those are the three main things. And then at the end of the presentation, I wrap it up. I ask questions to confirm those three things. I want to confirm that they agree that this is ideal, that this is unique, and that it's going to be incredibly easy for them to use, for them to get acclimated on, and for anyone on their team that's using the product or the solution to get acclimated on. And once I get there, that's when I say, I've got product concept. That's a massive issue with AEs, with salespeople in general. They don't know whether or not, and they don't confirm whether or not they have product concept before transitioning to price or before transitioning to next steps.
Bingo.
I love it when I go to confirm product concept and they're like, actually, like, I would like to see one other thing. Or no, I actually don't. Perfect. Thank God you said that now, because if you didn't and I go over to pricing,
you're going gung-ho on
I've reduced the conversion rate. I've reduced the chance that I'm going to get what I want on price.
Right.
I have to have you at product concept. And then like I learned this at PandaDoc. Even if it's the owner, I say this, I button up product concept. I get them to agree to all those things, or I confirm. If I'm not convincing, I'm confirming at that point. I did my convincing in the presentation. But once I have all that confirmed, I can say, instead of saying, are you ready to recommend our solution for your company? I say, I have a qualifying statement. Based on the answer to those questions, would you say that you're ready to confirm? So I just got all these mini yeses when I was locking down product concept.
Of course,
so if they say no, it's like, well, I mean,
what is it?
what's missing?
Where's the gap? What's missing?
Yeah,
exactly. Yep.
And I also take price out of the equation. So I say,
you have to in the beginning. Yeah, you don't want to hit them with sticker shock. Yeah.
Yeah. Based on the answers that you just gave me, and I know we haven't talked about price yet. So assuming that price will work, just based on the solution side, though, based on the answers that you gave me, on the solution side, not on price, would you say that you're ready to recommend the solution for your company? Yes. All right, cool. Now let's talk price.
Right.
Now let's get into it. And I'm
that's
not
negotiations
scheduling
and that's
another
whatever,
call for price. This is where I like, for some reason,
go off, man. This is you, bro. Go.
For some reason, tech companies, like, they forgot about what an impulse curve is, which is like a very simple thing. I learned it in door to door, but it is, you take somebody at the bottom where they're like either disinterested, they're not even curious, or they don't even know that they've got a problem that the solution can take care of for them. And then you take them all the way up to the peak of impulse. I'm not going to get them any more excited or invested in this solution than they are right now. And if I get off the phone with them, or if I get off of this meeting with them, then it's like Ira Friedman, an old mentor of mine, taught me this. It's like you're rolling a boulder up a hill when you're in sales. So you get them to the peak of impulse. If you get off the phone and then we're going to schedule a pricing call, that boulder doesn't stay where you had it. It goes back down. You had them as excited as they'll ever be. They just saw the product. You just locked down on product concept. All right, cool. Let's schedule a pricing call for a week from now. They're not going to be as interested a week from now than they were
because
before.
They're going to think, they're going to poke holes, they're going to ask conversations, they're going to evangelize 100%. It internally. Someone's going to be a blocker. Yeah, exactly. 100%.
There's a reason why people say, let me sleep on it. Because you sleep on it.
That's the easiest. That's the easiest deflection I give all the time.
Yeah. So that's when you go to price. You should go to price right when you have product concept, and you should go for the close when you can. If not, you should go to next steps. What happens from here? And like I'll close with this. We can talk about some other stuff, but like I always.
No, this is great, man. This is exactly what people are looking for.
Presenting. And when I'm going for a close, the way that I always plan it out is, let's walk through how things would look if everything's perfect. Walk me through the perfect scenario. So like earlier on, or once I get product concept, if they're like, I need to present it over to somebody, like, all right, cool. What if they say yes? What happens from here? Like, or like we go over everything and say, all right, so based on all of this, went over pricing. All right, we're cool. What happens from here? Or if we need to like do like something else in between, I always want them to talk me through like how this process is going to work. At every step, I want an update on the process based on where we are and what it looks like, and I want tangible next steps of what we're doing next on everything. It's funny, man. That is like the key to sales. Really, is learning all of those little things, learning all of those little goals at every step of your process, and then getting them memorized. You don't have to memorize a talk track, but you have to have your goal memorized, where when you get to that step, all right, this is my goal now. I'm not leaving this step until I've accomplished that goal. And now I'm going to get creative, and I'm going to do whatever I can to ensure that I accomplish that small goal, whether it be product concept, whether it be presenting pricing. There's a million goals when it comes to presenting pricing. Number one is getting them to believe, if you have a discount, believing that the price is real, right? Because sometimes it's not, depending on what you're selling. Because out of Fleetmatics, the list price was not real. No one ever bought it at list price. It was a made-up number. I think that's decreased over the past decade since I started at Fleetmatics, for sure. But like, still, say like prospects, and they have good reason to, obviously, like I just said, a lot of times the numbers aren't real. A lot of times it's just a bigger number that you're going to cut down, and no one ever really buys it at the bigger number anyways. What are we talking about? So if you have a time-based incentive, or you're going to decrease pricing, or you're going to give them a discount or anything like that, or an incentive to move forward, you need to convince them on that first price. You need to show a return on that first price first before you offer a discount. And then there's a million other goals and everything like that.
Sure.
But
but you channel a lot of things there, and I'm flipping the script a little bit, because I think this is super, super good to get into, because I think a lot of people that try to break into sales, and what you really cut down is like, and I'm just going to summarize here, you keep me honest, is really what you've done is, obviously the whole selling motion is there, and you've obviously been involved in sales for a long time. We're about to discuss that. But what you really did is you talked about how easy is my product for them to implement from a solution, and how do I make champions who are going to be involved with the selling motion so they can actually present that to the powers that be, knowing that they're going to actually get a return on investment on something. Like, that's really kind of what this whole motion is. And that's why I've loved being a solutions engineer, because, hey, I'm telling you right now, you want to work harder than I do. So you know what? You belong in sales. You deserve to make more money than I do. That's totally fine, right? But what I love supporting that, because then I can be the guy who actually makes sure that that solution is effective, because all I got to do is make sure I present that solution to you, and then I shut the hell up. And then I let you carry that conversation accordingly. And all I want to do is that person on the other side, I want to make them feel comfortable that just because I'm showing them something, it's real, it's tangible. This solution will solve their problem. And now they can be a champion and be like, oh, I want to be like KJ. I want to do that. And maybe I worked in an automation tool, and maybe I've had a leg up because they just happen to be the number one in the world, right? But like, everything you said is all I ever did. It's all I ever did. I said, hey, what is your problem? Let me tactically show you how this is going to work. And then I let you guys cook. And it was great every single time. And people are like, why were you so effective? I'm like, because I didn't step on toes, man. I just said, here's our solution. Here's the problem. Here's what we're solving. And I let us make sure that we made sure that those people could be champions for us, because you know as well as I do, if you pitch something and it's super, super low in cost, or it's got a super high premium, either way, those people have to believe, right? They have to believe in what you're saying. So if you can't show that this is actually going to generate benefit, how are you going to expect them to evangelize in your behalf? If we're selling to the executive, I feel like we've also missed the boat. I feel like they have to be doing it in our behalf and be like, oh, I remember seeing this. Can you show that? Oh, I remember seeing this. Can you show that? It immediately diminishes that barrier to entry that allows you to substantiate that price point that you're talking about. Now, feel free to be honest here, but like, to me, that's kind of what I heard in a lot of the summary, and that's kind of what I've done in my career to be successful.
So,
Do
dude,
you agree?
sales
Would you
engineers,
disagree?
salespeople, SDRs. It is to go back to wrestling. An old quote from Rocky Maivia back when he was in Nation of Domination: "Know your role and shut your mouth." Like,
Yeah,
that's
right.
and that goes for sales too. Know when to be quiet. Know
Mm-hmm.
know what your role is. Know where you are in the handoff. Know what you do and know what you
Mm-hmm.
don't do. And know what's going to help the deal if you contribute there, and know what could hurt the deal if you contribute, or if you try to contribute somewhere else. Same goes for SDRs. Same goes for everybody that's in the process. And I
Mm-hmm.
agree. Like, I can tell that you're good at what you do just by the way that you said that. Where it's like, no, I'm not.
Well, thank you. Appreciate
I'm a
that.
solutions engineer. I'm not necessarily like, I'm not the salesperson.
Nope.
I'm in here for this specific job. This is what I do. This is how I help the deal.
Mm-hmm.
And then I leave it up to the salesperson to do their job.
Yep.
That's like, that's a big part of like where, when things aren't going well, and you have a few different cooks that are working the same recipe, they're standing over the same pot. That's generally what the problem is that
Mm-hmm.
someone's overstepping or understepping, and they don't know exactly what their role
Yep.
is. They don't know their role. They don't know when to go, and they don't know when to shut their mouth. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely something that I think a lot of solution engineers probably could learn from, which is like, no, it's my job to show the solution. Now, if the salesperson needs a little bit of help, if I need to shed a light on it, then I'm obviously
Mm-hmm.
there, but I don't want to overstep on it, because it gets tough. I can give you a super old school version of it.
Go
I
for it,
worked
man.
for this company for a day, back in Auburn,
A
Massachusetts, which
day,
is
just
like,
one day. That's it.
oh yeah, this is before I was, much of anything. This is
A day. This
2010.
is awesome.
Company called Signtronics. So I probably didn't work there really, because it was 100% commission, and I came in for one day and then I didn't go
Oh
anymore.
yeah, that's nothing. Yeah.
But they had me go shadow with a guy. So what Signtronics
Yeah.
is, if you go around to like any rural area and you see like those signs that look like they have like clip art on them, and they're like lit up and everything, and it has like the
Yeah,
company
I know what you're
name.
talking about.
You see
I know
them
what you're
all
talking
over.
about.
That's more than likely a Signtronics sign, right?
Okay.
So you would go in and say, hey, you have this shitty sign, this crappy sign, like, and wouldn't you like it if it was illuminated and had your name, and they had like an example, like they'd walk around with this big suitcase to show you what it could look like, and they plug it in and everything.
It's
Dude,
like a
super
real.
old school, like
I
really, like
love
feels
that,
like it's
man.
like
That's
some
great.
80s stuff.
Yeah.
So we went there, and I know for a fact, based on watching the guy that I was with, this older dude, that like, I'm way better at sales than this guy. Clearly, blatantly, is not even close. If he can do this job, I can do it 15 times over. He
Sure.
told me when we first started, he said, do not talk to anybody when we're out there. Don't talk to him. I don't even want you to make eye contact. Watch me. Right. And we got to the end on a deal, and he showed the sign and everything like that. And then I was building rapport with the guy, because I had something in common, and I knew that I could build a little bit of rapport where he'd be more invested in what we were saying. So, but I did that while he was getting the sign ready to do the presentation and everything like that. Then he presented, and the guy looked at me. The prospect looked at me instead of looking at him because I've been talking to him, and now he has somebody else in the room to go towards, and it messed up the sale. It like I didn't understand how their process worked. And because of that, I injected myself into his sales process, and it actually hurt the process instead of helping it because I didn't know what I was doing. Like, that's a perfect example of what can happen on a deal if you have a solutions engineer in there and a sales guy in there, and it feels like they're not moving in the same motion, one saying things at a point where they shouldn't, et cetera. Like, and it can absolutely hurt. For sure, particularly if a salesperson is like really buttoned down on their process and how all of that works.
For real. Yep. Love the discussion there around like knowing too many cooks in the kitchen and just understanding. And I feel like in your scenario too, I feel a little bad for you because like it's one of those things where like, yeah, I think the traditional mindset is like, my parents were like this too, like do as I say, not as I do. Right. And I think it's like a generational thing. Right. Like, and especially with me, like not to date myself, but I'm only 30, you know what I mean? So like the typical millennial Gen Zer in me is just kind of like, you can't bullshit me because my father was the biggest bullshitter in the game. I mean, that dude's been selling life insurance his entire life. You know what I mean? And like I saw, like literally did that and you door-to-door sales. I watched this dude grind forever and without even a degree. I mean, he got his GED and was able to put my way, he didn't put me through college, obviously. I had to take out loans, but you get the idea. Like he grinded, you know what I mean? But I learned so much about like there's these tendencies that they have like generationally and it's starting to break. But what you described there though is like not reading the room properly and knowing that like you weren't going to take the sale, obviously, but you're like, hey, they looked at me. This is relatable. Let me chime in real quick and then let you bring it home. Right. And I think having that self-awareness is key. But I want to bring this all back to you clearly know what the hell you're doing. So how did you get there? So I want to bring you back to, I think it's 2008, not to date you, but 2008. And you were at Sidcor where you became a team lead. Yeah. I would love to hear what the role was like. And really, more importantly, because the whole point of this podcast is like we can sit here and riff on sales stuff forever, and I'm sure people would love to hear it. But really, at the end of the day, I want to get into your brain. What was it that got you that job at Sidcor, that got you to the team lead, that ultimately led you to becoming the director of sales at 2020 Companies? I'd love to let you just riff on that.
So,
kind of hear your story.
Sidcor, and how I viewed the role provided me with an unfair advantage for the rest of my career, I would say.
Perfect. Love it. How'd you do that?
Now, Sidcor is 100% commission, and it is a pyramid scheme. It's multi-level marketing, essentially. Okay. So, like, I'll give you an example. And if anyone from Sidcor hears this and has a problem with it, I'll gladly get on a podcast with them and chat it out. It'll never happen. It will not. It's a big company, dude. At the time, it was owned by Golden Gate Capital, which owns like everything. Like pick a retail company, and they own it.
Let's look it up. While you're chatting, I'll look this up.
But they're big, and I work for them, and I work for their sister company, 2020. I know they bought 2020 it was over 100 mil, and this is over a decade ago. So like they obviously it's a large company. So the way Sidcor worked is like, let's say they're an independent corporate licensee. So what that means is they would get a contract and they're a reseller. So it could be Verizon is what we started with, Verizon for Business, or it could be Quill Office Supplies, or it could be a bunch of other stuff that they sold, like, deregulated electricity. Their sister company did. So you'd go door to door, business to business. We were business, and you would be pulling Verizon bills, and you would be, calculating a solution where you can bundle this. You could do this. This would actually save you money, but it would do this for you, and everything like that. The way that, but it was 100% commission. It was incredibly difficult. I was ranked number 3 in the country, and I had my car repoed, and I got evicted while I was there.
Great. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I made 20 grand that year in my early 20s, maybe 22 grand, and I was number 3 in the country selling Verizon for Sidcor. So it was impossible. You were working borderline slave wages, and the concept was, all right, you come in here and you're just a seller. Once you do 5 deals, that are once you do 10 deals for over $500 commission, which that already says it. Think about that. 10 deals for $500 commission combined.
Oh God.
Right? Not 500 each. Those 10 deals combined equal $500.
What was your commission rate? Like 0.1%? Like what
Right.
the?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Once you did
Oh my
that, you
God.
become a leader, right? Once you
Okay.
become a leader, then you can start interviewing people and everything like that, and then you get people on your
Okay.
team. And once they get on your team, if they also do 10 for
So how old are you
500,
at this point?
this is 2008, so I was 24.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
I'd sold cars before that, and then I went into this. I thought it was like a marketing company. That's how they present themselves.
I
Direct
mean, yeah, that's how
marketing.
the presentation. You brought that up before.
Yep.
You bought the presentation. You bought in. That's what it. Anyway,
You
continue.
come in,
Sorry,
you're
I
in a
just wanted to
waiting
put
room. It's a
context in
decent
like where you were.
office. Everyone's
Yeah.
suited and booted in the waiting room. You're like, damn,
Yep.
I'm about to like work at a marketing firm. Like, man. And then like they're like, hey, like you do a quick interview. Oh, it sounds like you like could do it. Like, we're gonna have you shadow somebody for a day. And then you go out in the field, and then you get out and you're like, wait a minute. All right, this is sales. We're going door to
That's what
door.
happened to my wife when she first did this because I didn't know about it either. And she
Yep.
goes, I'm not selling something. I'm like, yeah, no, don't. Like, you're kidding. That's not.
Yeah. And so I got into it because it's like, well, if you're a manager, you can make $250,000 a
Sure.
year and you can open your office wherever you want. And I was in Florida. I wanted
Oh,
to get back up to
wow. Okay.
Massachusetts at the time. I was like, all right, cool.
Sure.
But yeah, that's the concept is you become a leader and then you need 5 people that became leaders underneath you. The same concept as like, Amway, Monavi,
It's
all of it.
multi-level, man. That's
Right.
how it works. Yeah,
And
yeah.
then once they're built up, then you can become an assistant manager. And the assistant manager gets paid a little bit more, right? They get like a little salary that's not really a salary. It's going into an account to open their office. And then, you go from there and there. And it's not a pure opportunity because when you interview someone, whether or not they can hack it, and you can stack somebody's deck. Hey, I like this guy or this gal. I'll make them an assistant manager by giving them all the good interviews. So like there's ways of doing that. But think about that. That job sounds like crap. Who stays? Well, first off, it's a big party. It was college for me, right? Because I was in community college for a little bit. That was it.
24. Like, come on,
Yeah,
dude. I
everyone's the
remember
same
being
age.
24.
Everyone's partying outside of work pretty much every single day outside of work. Everyone's having a good time. And that's part of it was like you'd stay because of the relationships that you build. The training was spectacular. They do an hour training. That's where I learned Impulse Curve that I was just talking about. That came from
Oh,
Sid
wow.
Core,
Okay. So you learned a lot of concepts very early.
a lot of the stuff that I go over in like the stuff that probably led you to following me and lead most people to following me, at least half of it came from Sid Core. And then I put my spin on it to make it hotter. Right. So like 3 keys to success, maintain a positive attitude, student mentality, work ethic. That came from their 8 great work habits. And then I added some other stuff in there and took a bunch of it out because who can remember 8 things? I can't. Like I never remembered the 8 great work habits. I just took the best ones.
I
and I rolled with it.
my family's birthdays. That's about it.
Exactly. But you also think about it like, all right, so most people quit that job. So what they'd have to do is they'd have a morning meeting that is incredible. You learn how to speak, you for sure, because you had to keep getting in front of the room. You had to, they call it promote your situation. So you get in front of the room, you got to build your brand because you got to eventually when you open your office, you need movers. You need people that want to move with you to open that office. Who's going to move with somebody if they're not convinced that they're the shit? You have to build your personal brand. You have to promote your situation. All of this stuff led into helping me down the road.
You were in an independent wrestling promotion, is what you were in.
Yeah,
like I know we're tying it back, but that's what you were. Like, you were cutting promos.
Absolutely. And then like I had like, and you tie in like my experience with like battle rap, which is very much like pro wrestling. Like, yeah, all of this helps.
Oh yeah.
And is a really strong translator to do well in tech sales. Which we talk about after this, but like I had a boatload of my friends who are in battle rap move, and they're all still making 6 figures except for one.
Wow.
And that's because of personal reasons. It was not because he wasn't good at the job. But yeah, so like Sid Core, incredibly difficult, high turnover. People quit all the time. They had an amazing morning meeting. You had your cycles that went over how to develop your career. For 10 minutes. You had stations for 15 minutes that went over how to get better at sales. You had practice pitch every single day for 10 to 15 minutes. You were role playing every day with people that are really good at the job. And then the people that did the best the day before would get in front of the room and say what was working for them so you could learn. Success leaves clues. You're going to learn from the best people.
Like this. This is exactly what it is. Like, right.
And then there's a morning meeting. So the morning meeting, it gets you fucking hyped up and ready to go and everything like that. And then you're off. And then you would go out into the field. And then at the end of the day, you had to come back. So it didn't matter. Like for me, the office was in Tampa, Florida, near West Shore Mall. If anyone's in Tampa Bay area, and I had to go to Lakeland, which was my territory, almost an hour away.
Oh wow, that's Yeah, that's not
It's
close.
far. Yep.
I fly into Tampa to go to Lakeland offices.
Yeah, it ain't easy. You're talking
Yeah.
45 minutes to an hour to get out there. And then at
Yep.
the end of the day, I'd have to come back to settle up, is what they would call it. So this is 2008. Things weren't digital. So I had my apps that were 3 copies that they pressed in.
Yep.
And I have to take the pink copy and hand it over and everything like that. But then someone would break down your day. I've never talked about this, by the way, on a podcast. I think it is good stuff, though. Like, where, so
why do you think I do it, man?
Leader.
Like, dude, there's so much nuggets of what made people successful in their first jobs. It's like, this is why I talk about it. Yeah.
So you think breaking down your day, I had to get with a leader. The purpose of breaking down your day was to preserve your attitude if you had a bad day so you wouldn't quit. That was the whole
Honestly,
purpose. That's why you had to come back.
Pretty good mitigation. It's like
Yeah.
pretty good risk mitigation.
So
for
it
sure.
worked. So like the way that I viewed Sidcore, and I think there might be a couple people that did this also. Joey Anderson is a good example of someone that I worked with there that like has built pretty big businesses and is, you know, a multimillionaire from, I guarantee he applied a lot of the Sidcore stuff. What I learned is like, all right, they're paying nothing. They're paying nothing. It's 100% commission, and it ain't even good commission. They're selling you on a dream, and people are buying.
Right.
People are drinking the Kool-Aid, and they're rolling with it. And then you go over to tech sales, right? So what is tech sales? And when I got into tech sales, the way that I broke into tech sales was Travis Hauk, who is he's an individual seller now. I'm not disparaging him. One of the greatest salespeople I've ever worked with. When it comes to the confidence and presentation side, I don't think anyone is as good as him. But he was in that Sidcore office with me. We both worked there together, right? I took what I learned there and I kept applying it in my career. Travis more like took his sales stuff and applied it, but he didn't necessarily want to memorize the Sidcore stuff because, like, who would? It's a crappy job. Who cares, right? But you think about it. Wait, they were getting people to stay. People were hyped up in the meetings. If you see a Sidcore meeting, it sounds like the ones like it's Wolf of Wall Street. Like seriously, it's like people are screaming, going nuts. Like that's the energy in the meeting every day. We used to have a guy who could do like you know, like the round off backflips and stuff like that, and he would start the day off doing that in the meeting when we walked through the line and everything. It's fire, dude. It's awesome.
Ridiculous.
Like, but then you go into tech sales, and then what is it? I don't need like this is generally the manager's perspective. A lot of managers. I don't need to get them hyped up. I don't need to give them reasons to stay. I don't need to invest in them. I don't need to break down their day to make sure that they're happy and that they have a plan of attack for the next day. We're paying them enough money. The money will do that. I don't need to do it.
And that's why people want to break in. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's like, well, you're getting the money for it, so I don't need to do all of this other stuff. So what I did was say, all right, but what if you did both? What if you paid them and then you also did all of the stuff that this company did to hold on to these people, where you get more investment. They're more sold on the opportunity and their ability to progress their career. By the way, now it's real. Before it was fake. It wasn't a pure opportunity by any stretch, but it absolutely can be in tech sales. People move up on average. What?
Yeah, you have a tangible thing or a solution that you can sell. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So like I took all of the stuff that I learned there and the environment that was there, and I applied it to tech sales. And I moved from SDR to AE faster than anyone ever at Fleetmatics.
Yeah, I saw that. You did that at Fleetmatics.
Faster than anyone. And a lot of that was...
You were an SDR for 2 months.
I was SDR for 2 months. So again, Travis knew me at Sidcore, right? So Travis knew I was the man when I got there. But I didn't get handed it. I beat everyone in the first month. Like I didn't beat everyone on meeting set, these nonsense statistics that are KPIs that we go by now. No, you got paid and you got judged on deals that sold. So I came
which
in
is the way it should
3rd,
be.
2013. I had no training. They hand you a script and they have you go over it a couple of times. That's the training. And then you're on the phone and then you get after it. By the end of the month, I was ranked 3rd in closed won deals. I think I had 14 bookings, 7 completed sits or something like that. Or no, 14 completed sits, 7 deals for a certain amount or whatever. At the end of the first month.
Sure.
I started on the 3rd. That was at the end of July, right? And the reason why is because the way that I build my sales career is that I recognize the elements of a sales pitch framework of what I'm doing. And then there's only so many of them. And once you can kind of see it the same way that Neo in the Matrix sees it, that's when you start to have success. So many great sales people, they go to the next job and they're doing all of my CEO right now, Gabe at Rocket Shipping. This is how he is. Like he's incredible. And he does all of these things that like I would train towards. He didn't even know that he's doing them. I was like, dude, you did this, this, and this. You leveraged social proof and you did this. And like, he's just like, he's a natural. He's naturally really good.
Sure.
He doesn't have the labels of what it is that he's doing. But if you don't have those labels, you can't repeat it. You can only do it at the place that you're at. When you go somewhere else, it doesn't quite fit the same way because you're not everything can be ported. So you have to know all of the ingredients and what they are. And then when you go over there, you're like, all right, cool. We're not doing a cake anymore. We're doing a croissant. All right. Well, then what do I know from cakes that I can add to the croissant?
Yep.
And what do I need to learn to add into that? And so when I got there and they give you a script, it was like, all right, here's the script. Hey, is KJ there? Oh yeah, this is KJ. Hey KJ, it's Troy over at Fleetmatics. How's it going, man? All right, so your cold call opener, right? The same as it always is. Basic, right? You just want to earn the right to get a conversation going. You want to sound good enough where they want to talk to you. Hey, long story short, we've been working with the folks over at ABC Plumbing, social proof, right? We used to call it Jones effect at Sidcore, but it's social proof, right? You're leveraging social proof to reduce skepticism so you can.
Oh yeah, you want to be keeping up with the Joneses. Oh my God, my dad used that
exactly
all the damn time. And I was like, Dad, this is annoying. Why does that matter? And now I'm sitting here in a sales capacity being like, no, he was right.
So, yeah, social proof is an absolute key. And then you do your presentation. We help them out with A, B, and C. These are their problems, and we fix it through A, B, and C. And then a qualifying question, and then an option close, which I learned in the car business. And I was like, so I looked at it, and I've said this before on podcasts. It's like if you've ever seen Slumdog Millionaire, the dude wasn't the best like trivia guy, but he had these life experiences that resonated and stuck with him for life that happened to be the answers to the questions that he got. In sales, when you retain all of that information and you label it and you know that that's an ingredient to the recipe that you're doing, when you move somewhere else, now I look at that script, I don't need any training. And I don't need to be sold on that script because I already know all of those things work and I know the elements and I know, oh, this is an option close.
It's a reference point. It's not a,
Yeah. So how did I beat everybody the first month right off the bat as an SDR? It was the option close. This was a transactional sale for the most part, right? It was a tremendous ROI. We generally, our deal cycle is 48 hours or less. So we can move quickly on these deals because you're talking to the owner. It's blue collar. They see the ROI. It's pretty easy on that side of things. But the way that people would option close on the meeting to set it up with the AE, they didn't understand what an option close is. An option close, or at Sidcore, we'd call it eliminating option zero. And I also knew the option close from the car business. So I'd seen a boatload of different ones. So an option close is it's not that they don't have an option to say no. It's that you don't provide them with that option. They need to take it themselves. You provide them with other options for them to take. So when would be the best time for you to take a look at something like this? Would later today work for you? Or do you think tomorrow's going to be better for that? This or that? Not yes or no. And the issue is that if you haven't been trained on that, and you don't comprehend, or it hasn't resonated with you what your goal is. Like I was saying earlier,
it's like what's the ultimate
of the pitch. My goal is to provide them with two options, and none of them are no. They have to pick no themselves. And from what they were doing, all of the other SDRs is number one, they'd set it up bad. Because it's human nature for you to follow the path of least resistance, and everyone hates awkwardness and rejection. So they would set it up to fail. Hey, I know that I called you out of the blue. I know that you may be busy, but do you think this is something you might be able to take a look at soon?
It's a lack of confidence, man. It's just like,
it's a lack of
lean into that
shit,
saying,
man. What you're doing, the product, yourself, everything. And then they get to the end and they'd say, would today or tomorrow work for you? Would you be like, well, yeah, that's this or that. No, it's not. They lumped them together. Would today or tomorrow work for you? No, they wouldn't. Which day would
you gave them the option to say no? Yeah.
So when it comes to the option close, the way that I always do it is, number one, you want to sound positive and assumptive on your setup. And so if you're an actor, your backstory is that the prospect just said to you, you know what? My sister already uses y'all. She loves it. I want to buy it. I just want to look at it first. Sure. That's how your tone should be. You should be that assumptive. All right, great. What I normally do is schedule a short online demonstration, get you a live look at how we can help solve all those problems that we just went over. Like that's the setup. Is I sound super assumptive, like, of course you're going to want to do this. I'm as assumptive as possible. And I embrace awkwardness. Because now if they say no, it ain't awkward for me. It's awkward for them because of how assumptive I was.
Yeah, because you're like, I don't care.
It's going to be awkward for me, and then when I get to the end and then I slow it down, people go too fast on this. And that's the problem. They lump them together. When would be the best time to take a look at something like this? Or would today work? Or would tomorrow work for you? Whereas they were saying, would today or tomorrow work for you? Or not even. They'd say, do you think that you'd have time for something like this,
That
or
pause
whatever?
is key, though. That pause gets them to think
I
immediately and
literally
say,
do this. Like, you see, I'm doing it. I do this every time that I
you
do it.
physically, yeah, yeah,
Would
yeah.
later today work for you? Or do you think tomorrow's going to be better for that? And then sometimes they'll be like, actually, neither day. Great. I'm just going to widen my appointment funnel. Completely understand. And then I will say, completely understand. I know I called you out of the blue. When would be a better time then? Would later in the week work for you? Or do you think next week is going to be better for that?
You're
And
still,
then,
and you're pushing, and it's and I can see if you're on the buyer side and so on and so forth. But what you're doing is you're leaving the opportunity for them
yeah,
to solidify this is a disqualified opportunity. Let's
yep.
move on.
And here's the,
Totally get it.
this might help also, or be helpful, KJ. I don't see their point of view there. I don't see a reason why the hell they'd say no. That
Sure,
so like
that's fine.
like
But that's the mindset I want to hear because, mind you, remember, I'm a solutions engineer, not sales, right? So,
right.
like
So
for
sales
me,
is a
I'm always thinking,
transference of certainty, right? It's a transference of
absolutely,
emotion. It's a transference of feelings. Zig Ziglar said it's a
sure.
transference of everything. So if
Mhm.
you aren't as confident as possible in what you're presenting and what you're going to get back from your prospect when you're presenting it, you're setting yourself up for more failure than you could be setting yourself up for. So you
Absolutely.
have to think there is no reason on God's green earth why they would say no to this. So when I say later today or tomorrow and they say neither one, actually, that's not a no. It's a no to the times I presented. All right, I'll widen the funnel. Completely understand. I know I called you out of the blue. I'm sure that you got a lot of stuff already lined up. How about
Mhm.
later in the week? Would later in the week work for you, or would next week be better for something like this? And I'm not going to assume that I'm getting an objection until I really hear one. And that's not an objection. Price is rarely an
Fair,
objection.
fair.
Like a lot of people, they do that where you got to understand that a lot of the times what you're getting back from the prospect is not resistance. They're actually running with you. You're just not reading it right. So when people hit with price, I saw I think it was Will Aitken. I think it was like his sales feed or whatever the hell it's called, where it was like things that salespeople hate to hear. And like one of
Hmm.
them was, "Can I get a discount on this?" And I was like, "Why the hell would you not want to hear that? That's a buying question. That's
That
not an
sounds like
objection."
I'm ready to go. Like, okay,
Yeah,
cool. I just
yeah.
need you to come down a little bit. Okay.
Whether it's yes or no, you just got interest from them. They want to purchase your product. What are we
Right.
talking about? So like price is not necessarily an objection, but if people treat it that way, then you're going up against them. It's you versus them. Where a lot of times if you're an SDR and they're like, how much is this? An SDR's natural inclination is to be like, oh, they just gave me an objection. I have to overcome it. Fuck no. They just gave you the keys to book the meeting.
They just
How
told you
much
they're
is
ready
something
to
like this?
buy. It's
How
just
much does it cost, man? Oh yeah, absolutely. I can get you with someone that'll build out the price tailored to you guys so it fits
mhm,
exactly what you need and the pricing makes sense. When's the best time for you to look at that? Would later today work?
sure.
Or is tomorrow going to be better for
And you're
that?
right back to what
You're
you're
running
talking
in the
about.
same
Like, what?
direction. Oh yeah, you always end with the
Yeah,
option close. You better end with the close if you're overcoming an
sure,
objection. I learned
sure.
that at Sidcore also. But a lot of times when you get an objection, it's not an objection. That's a buying question. You run with them. It's like karate, right? Like versus boxing. Like boxing, you're either slipping a punch or you're blocking the punch.
Sure.
In karate, when that punch comes in, you're moving with them, right? You're grabbing
Right.
the arm and you're
Yeah, you're
moving,
using the
moving
force to
with
like learn how to,
their
yeah.
own motion. Like so, that is a huge thing, I think, when it comes to sales. Is like identify when you really get an objection and when you can actually take the energy that your prospect gave you and run with it. Because in reality, you're actually running in the same direction or you're running close enough in the same direction where you could pull them into where you want to go, which is what
Love it.
sales is at the end of the day. It's leading someone to a decision that they probably would have already made if they had enough information and they were probably a little bit less procrastinating, where you might have to push them over the edge. But you're not pushing them into something they didn't want to do. You're leading them to a direction they probably would have went to in themselves. That's why some companies are so high on marketing and it's transactional. We don't need a salesperson. We just need to show it to them and they'll buy it. All right. Well, sometimes there's more moving parts. You need a solutions engineer to be able to make sure that it's the
Sure.
right fit and everything like that. But you're leading them to a decision they would have arrived
Yep.
at if they had the information and they didn't procrastinate as much. Holler's your
I
boy.
love it. I love but and this is what I think, and I think we're just gonna kind of we'll cap it here because obviously we got families, we got things we want to do, but I think that whole mindset is probably, and you're also too, like when you say holla at your boy, like this is something you say in LinkedIn too to kind of segue a little bit, is you always say I'm willing to connect with anyone and talk to them. Like I reached out to you and I said, hey, you want to do the pod? You're like, absolutely, like it's great. And I think that correct me if I'm wrong here, all of this experience that you've gained, which I'm surprised you've never talked about and no one's asked you, because it seems like your whole sales career was just founded upon like Sidcore. But I would say that that's probably why you went into, doing your revenue consulting, actually starting sales at ArgIO. I think you genuinely, right, while, I could say probably some things probably polarize the more traditional people. Sure, I'm sure you recognize that. But I think you want to give back to people. Is that kind of what led you to starting your own companies and wanting to do this on your own a bit before you went back to rocket shipping? Is that kind of what pushed you to that direction? Because, dude, this has been awesome from like a wealth of knowledge perspective. I'm not going to be able to apply necessarily a ton of it, but I could, I'm just asking
here, I can give back to people for free. So I started the company to make money, right? Let's be honest here. I could have done it for free. I could still do it completely for free, right?
Sure,
like that's doable. There's two. So when I got on TikTok and LinkedIn and everything like that heavily, the reason why I did that is that when I worked for Fleetmatics, Verizon acquired the company, and I essentially wrote the script for the Southeast region on how to run a demo. I had the whole playbook, and I put my name on everything that I make. And we got to the end, and I left. It certainly wasn't a ceremonious way, and the way I departed, and won't talk about that. It was my own fault, but God bless. I'm glad that I did it. But like I noticed like the week before, and it's probably why it led to me leaving the way that I did. They took my name off of it. Like they took my name off of my own playbook. And what I realized is like, dude, I feel like I'm John Blaze at the stuff that I'm doing. Like I'm as good as it gets. And like, who knows? The people that I directly trained, and like that's it. Like I wanted to plant my flag down of like, no, I'm one of the best at this. And I want to leave that kind of behind. So I guess maybe it started with like slightly selfish reasons until I like started to get messages from people where they're like, dude, like I get them all the time. Now it's not even off of TikTok as much as it's off of my YouTube, which I deprioritized for TikTok because I was getting better traction there.
Sure. Yeah, you're going to get more clicks and views.
You need to post so much to get traction on TikTok. Like I get back in there and whip ass again. Like, but it's a lot of work. It's gonna not doing it with a 2-year-old and a newborn. Probably gonna have to wait a few months.
Dude, I only got one kid. I'm like, you said you have
YouTube's
four
interesting,
one on the way. Like,
you have one video that gets traction. Like for me, it's the one like it's like 4 tips on how to crush your SDR interview. That's at like I think it's close to 30K views, and like that's leveled me up on there. And I get hit up all the time. Like, hey man, I applied your stuff and I got hired. So long story short, I started Sales Org to get paid off of the knowledge that I have because I know that I can provide a tremendous return. Now I started it like incorrectly for sure because it was B2C and B2B. I'm collecting from it's similar to like an aspireship model or a course careers model where we'll train you. You buy the course and then we'll get you placed. Number one, who's buying the course? The brokest people that exist, the people that want to break into
they're trying to make money. Yeah.
That's not really your best ICP if you're looking to get paid. Also, like now I need to collect money from the people that followed me, and I didn't like that. It felt weird. I enjoy doing that.
I get what you mean. Yeah, like this is free. I'm not trying to make money. I mean, if we got sponsors at some point, that'd be great. But yeah, this is just I'm with you. I totally understand.
Long story short, because I know like we want to close this out. Like I'm redoing Sales Org in general. I haven't announced this, but I partnered with Course Careers on anyone that's looking to break into tech sales. Like you can still do my course. I'm gonna probably have it removed pretty quickly though, because what my course is, it's $50. And you'll learn everything that you need to break into tech sales. But do I have the infrastructure and the recruiting side and everything like that? Absolutely not. We had my wife as a full-time recruiter. She got pregnant with our 5th child. She's not working anymore. Too many kids in this house, dude. Like,
you're done. Yeah, that's it.
I'm not looking to hire people or anything like that. So in terms of breaking into tech sales, I believe that Course Careers does it best. On the training side, I think they do it incredibly well. I think what's most important, though, is the resources that they have to actually get you hired.
Leveraging the resources.
That they're partnered with, the way that they do it, and their track record on the amount of people. You can just go look. Their track record on the amount of people that get hired and everything like that is higher than anywhere else that I know of.
Yeah, under the assumption, though, and we talked about this before, under the assumption they actually do the work. And
you have to actually take the course, right? There's no, and honestly, the harder it is to take it, which theirs is not hard. I've gone through all of it. The better though, because this is not a get rich quick thing, man. Being an SDR is hard.
Absolutely.
you
Yeah,
know?
I think it's one of
So
the harder. I think that is one of the harder gigs to have. Like when I look at the selling motion, I'm like, I feel like SDRs should be like the AEs of now. Like, to be
yeah,
completely candid with you, just with the experience that you need in order to truly be able to do the proper discovery and actually connect the dots. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Yeah.
100%, man. So with sales org, it's we're changing from that aspireship model to sales training for either existing salespeople,
Hmm.
predominantly in tech sales, but would work for most things. But
Hmm.
mostly, like the first offering will be like brand new SDRs or
Okay.
onboarding,
Cool.
because
Cool.
I'm writing a book on mindset for SDRs in particular because it doesn't exist. It's wide open spaces, dude. There is no, you think about it, mindset, hands down. I've done polls on LinkedIn, over 1,000 people answer, over 90% of them pick the thing that's most important for a new prospecting salesperson, whether it be an SDR, full cycle AE, is your mindset. It's not
Okay.
your sales experience. It's not your product knowledge. It's your mindset. You have to be willing to, you have to be mentally tough. You have to have the right perspective, right? And you can get perspective. You can gain perspective. There's a thing I talk about in the book called perspective taking, where like, and even kids learn this, how to put yourself in the shoes of somebody else, how to gain their perspective. So you think about like my perspective when I started was, I was just knocking doors in a suit and tie in August in Florida. And if I went to a pawn shop, they might pull a gun on me and then I'd have to go to the next door. And now I'm on the phone in an air conditioned spot dialing, and then someone might tell me to F off, but like, okay, cool. I don't even have to walk to the next plaza. Fantastic. That's easy for
Sure.
me.
Yeah.
It's
It's
nothing.
perspective. Yeah.
This is nothing.
Absolutely.
Everyone's like, oh, SDR is the hardest role. Knocking doors is the hardest sales job that is
Oh, I
out
watched
there
my dad
by a
get
mile.
ridiculed. Oh
So
my
how do we get
God,
it
man.
right? So how do we get the sales developers to have that perspective? You need to go
Sure.
over how that people view the job. So I break down mindset into three things: perspective, the
Yep.
perspective that you have, the perspective that you gain, how you view the opportunity, how you view your solution, how you view yourself, how you view all of it, and then habits. What are the habits that you have? What are the habits that are important for you to build? And how do you build those habits? And then drive. What ignites that? What drives you? What motivates you? What inspires you? How do you gain drive? How do you gain motivation? And if you do all of those things effectively, which you can do, right? So people always say you can't train mindset. Well, I can absolutely provide someone with perspective. That's proven. That's a fact. You can
Hmm.
absolutely show someone how to build habits and get them to build those habits, right? And you absolutely can find somebody's why and inspire them and motivate them. Happens every day. If they have the right perspective, they know what habits to have, and they've built those habits where they're a part of their everyday, and they have the drive, you've built their mindset. So mindset as a whole seems like this difficult thing. It's really not. It's, well, it can be, but you have to build it up and everything like that. But it all comes down to those things that I just listed:
And it's
perspective,
wild because
habits,
like,
and drive. And that's what
yeah,
we're
and it's
building on Sales Org. And it's more towards like, all right, if you're new to sales, but you're in the job already, because my goal is that the salespeople should never have to pay for any of my training, because a company would be a fool not to expense it.
sure.
So that's the goal, is like, oh, now I can provide to the people that follow me without
Hmm.
having to charge them. And if I do charge them, it's sending them over to Course Careers, where I know they're getting put into the best position to have a recruiter that will get them placed if they do the work. Which is why I was like, all right, you guys are doing better than I'll ever do there, because I have no interest in recruiting. I want to align myself with you guys on that side. If you go through me, because obviously I do get paid when people go
Well, duh,
through your
referrals.
Course
Duh.
Careers,
Yeah, absolutely.
I add bonuses to that. I add extra resources. So if you want my course, which is normally $50 on top of the Course Careers, you get it for free if you sign up through Course Careers. All right.
Cool.
You get a half-hour coaching session with me when you originally sign up to like go over mindset, what to do, how to
Hmm.
approach this, to hopefully increase the chance that you're actually going to go through with everything. And then you get another half-hour coaching session once you graduate that goes over interviewing and everything like that. And also the book that I am writing, which will also be a course on mindset. It's called the Sales Development Mindset PhD. PhD,
Love that.
Perspective Habits Drive, right?
I
That'll be
love that. I caught that immediately. I was like, wow, that's good.
that'll be free, that'll be free to them, right?
Wow,
So
that's
like
awesome.
now you because one thing that they don't cover, because no one covers it at Course Careers, they might cover it a little bit, but no one does it enough, is mindset. So
Yeah.
you'll be provided with that. again, it might take a little bit because I'm writing it and I have 5 kids and I'm a head of revenue for a company, but I'm doing my best to have it out.
It's coming at some point.
Yeah, I'm doing my best to have the book out Q1,
Cool.
if at all possible. But yeah, that's the thought, is like, let's build something where it's going to cost people effectively nothing to get trained, because what company would say no, even if they don't have an education budget? If an SDR comes to you and says, hey, I want to have a better mindset, here's the path to doing that, would you expense this? They'd be fools to say no. So
I mean,
that's
yeah.
that we're completely shifting on that side for sure.
No, but you know what though? Like, and this is the whole thing, and we can end it here, because my last thing that I always ask on the show is, how do people follow the Troy Barter way? But you're literally saying everything. It comes down to your PhD, right? It's your perspective, it's your habits, and your drive. And I think, and also too, we were talking about this before, and you would ask me the question how I felt on course careers, candidly, and you've changed my perspective on that, in the sense where it's like, okay, do I recognize that some people aren't just cut out for the job? Absolutely. Right. But we always hear kind of the negative. And I think this is something to be said around just kind of the minutia of social medias in general, right? Where, or social mediums in general, where people like to, just kind of highlight the negative and not really highlight the positive. But what you're saying is, if you've got the drive and the motivation, I can get you at least the resources that you need to put yourself in the best position possible. You're not sitting here and saying it's 100% placement. You're not sitting here doing that. But what you are saying is, I can help you get there. And
it's
that's
the highest, I would say, because another thing that like Course Careers does to like peel it back a little bit is that they can get you in, at least they used to get you in, as like a sales development intern. So you might just get paid for the first few months, like an hourly wage to be an SDR. And you could look at it like, oh, that's bad. No, that's great. All that you need, if you're really about this life, is your foot in the door. That's all that you need. And then it's up to you to decide to prove yourself, right? But all that you need is an opportunity. I don't know of any other company that does that internship stuff. I didn't even try to figure it out when I was at SalesOrg. It was like, man, they already have it figured out. And they have great companies that are always hiring, and they're always taking on new companies.
You just got to be willing to do the work.
What am I really looking for? Am I looking for training? Well, partially I want training, but what I really want is an opportunity. And I believe, I hands down believe, I wouldn't align with, because I could align with any one of them. I wouldn't align with,
you chose this for a reason.
Unless I truly believe that they put if you go through their course and you graduate, they put you in the best position to be able to get an opportunity in tech sales.
Sure. Love it. And I think that's it. And I think that's the path to follow. I'm going to cut it there, because I think this was a fantastic pod. And for full transparency, dude, Troy and I have never talked prior to literally today. So if you think we've been cutting up for a while, I think this is the personality. And I think it all ties back to what we're talking about, right? Is understanding opportunity. I really, really wanted to make sure that our community could listen to what you had to say. And dude, you knocked it out of the park. So thank you for that. Seriously, I really, really appreciate your time, your effort. If people wanted to follow you on LinkedIn, I already know that's a yes. It's Troy Barter. Search him. He is head of revenue at Rocket Shipping. He will always put in his posts whenever he makes time, because he's got 8,472 kids now. Good for you on that. He will always connect with you. He was an easy connect on this. If you do happen to want to listen to some of his additional podcasts he had, like the one we plugged, it's on Spotify. I believe it's episode 2. Right?
Yes. I have another podcast coming with Gabe, who's the CEO at Rocket Shipping, called Rocket Revenue. Cool. It'll be out within the next couple of weeks. And it's going over like literally how we're scaling and building the sales and revenue side of the company. So a lot of the stuff that I talked about here is like part of like, it's a typical conversation that we would have on that podcast. So that'll be out sometime in December.
Sick. Awesome. Once we get that, we can cross plug that. But Troy, seriously, thank you, man. Seriously, thank you for the time. And the opportunity to listen to this. You've successfully changed my perspective on some things, so thank you for that.
God bless.
Is there anything else you'd like to leave the guests with before I let you go, man?
Yeah, if you have interest either in
got him.
If you have interest in the book that I'm writing, you can sign up for updates on it. And also, if you have interest in breaking into tech sales through Course Careers with everything that I described, you can find all of that on salesorg.io. which is the company, the website, the whole thing.
Awesome. Well, Troy, thank you very much for the time. I'm KJ, as the host of KJ's Corner, as part of the I'm Breaking Into Tech, and we'll see y'all next time. Cheers, guys.